Welcome to an overview of Cadcorp SIS ETL. Also known as Extract, Transform and Load, ETL is a data management tool that manages and controls the flow of data between files, databases and servers. The tool can be used to streamline spatial data management, provide concurrent data for a cloud or remote service, and assist in automating data migration from flat file to a spatial database or from one database to another. ETL has the following operations. Copy moves updated files from one network location to another. Upload loads flat files or a Cadcorp SWD file to a PostGIS database. Existing tables are dropped and replaced with the new files. Append allows new CSV data to be appended to an existing PostGIS table. And finally, update. This is the same process as upload, but works specifically for CSV files. I will now introduce to you some of the operations I've just described. We are now looking at the ETL user interface, and it has four main sections: database, projects, files, and exports. The database dialog shows the location of the ETL database. This database stores the entire configuration for the data management processes. The projects dialog is where we create a project. You can have as many projects as you like. Each project could be performing operations for different data from different systems or departments. So let's create a new project. We give the project a name. We must specify the import folder. So this is the location of the files or SWDs we want to use with ETL. Finally, we need to select an export folder. So if we choose to set up some export routines, we can save the files at this location. My project is now set up, so I can now configure my data processes. I now want to set up a process to upload some data to my PostGIS database. This database might reside on your local network or in a cloud environment. There are two options for upload. I can use a Cadcorp SWD file that might contain multiple datasets from any of the vector formats supported by Cadcorp SIS technology. The second option is to use a flat file directly. I have a tab file of planning applications data. The data is maintained in my planning system, but my corporate data store is PostGIS. I can use ETL to upload the tab file to my PostGIS on a regular basis so that other systems can access the data from my data store. In my project, I'll add a new file and browse to my planning applications tab file. Once ETL has connected to that tab file, I have the option to set the frequency for my upload to hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly. I'm going to choose a daily routine at 2 AM in the morning, so it's running out of business hours and not affecting any system users. I now need to select the upload operation. Then underneath, I need to enter my details for my PostGIS database. Once the connection to the PostGIS is succeeded, we can decide a name for our table and then hit save. This process is now ready to run. For my second example, I have a CRM that generates a CSV file every day. This CSV contains all the new fly tipping incidents that have been reported in the last 24 hours. Other examples might include incident data from a command and control system or housing repairs from a housing management system. Access to the CRM database is prohibited from other systems, so I can set up a process in the ETL tool to append a new incident data to an existing table in my PostGIS database. Before I do that, I have my existing fly tipping table from PostGIS open in Cadcorp SIS desktop. If I select all the items in that table, we can see there are 130 reports. We'll remember this value and come back to this later. I'll now create a process for my CSV file. I'll browse to the location of the fly tipping data. And I'll set up the same schedule as my planning application data. So a daily upload at 2 AM. I'll select the append operation. My PostGIS details have been remembered, so I'll make a connection to the database to make sure that's all okay. And then I get a list of the tables and I can choose which table I want to append the data to. Before I save this process, I need to map the columns in my CSV file. A CSV is a plain text file, so we need to define the data types for each of the columns in the file. So the only ones I need to change are my date field. So I need to select this to a timestamp without time zone. My Eastings data that needs to be an integer, and my Northings data, that needs to be an integer as well. We can now save this process, and therefore we've now set up 2 data processes in my project, and now I'm going to let the ETL service run. My ETL service ran last night, so let's check on the results. In SIS Desktop, we have the fly tipping table from PostGIS. You might recall yesterday that when we selected all the features, there were 130 fly tipping reports in the table. Today, there are now 140 records since we ran the ETL service. So the CSV update file that we appended to the table last night added 10 additional records to the table. In SIS Desktop, we can also add the planning applications table. Remember, we set up a process to upload the tab file into the PostGIS database. So I'm now searching for the plan application data, and I can now add that into SIS Desktop. In these examples, ETL has enabled me to process flat file data from other systems and make them available to a wider audience from a corporate data store. And finally, I mentioned that when I run the ETL service at least once, I can set up a process to export some data. When I choose to add a new export process, I get the option to select the files that were pushed to the PostGIS database using the upload operation. I can choose to export my planning applications as a tab file or shapefile, and then define how frequently I want the export process to run. This is great because I can supply a copy of the data in a shape format to a third party who will only accept these files in this format. Once a process is saved, it will run at its scheduled time, like the other examples I've just shown you. This concludes my overview of Cadcorp SIS ETL. There is further functionality available and development possible to include support for other spatial databases. If you would like a full demo and a more detailed discussion, please contact us via our website, email, or telephone.